Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome to Floozie Crafts, a Stitch in Crime book club. Hi. It's True Crime Book Club night. How are you guys doing? And the book we are working on is A Serial Killer's Daughter by Carrie Rawson. And if you are unfamiliar with this book, Carrie Rawson is the daughter of BTK. How you guys doing? I just thought I would put that on the screen for those who are wondering what we're talking about. Okay. Who all did I see come in? Let's see. Rosie was here early. Rosie and Annie, thank you so much. Good to see you both. And Tammy and Sandy's finally back with us she's been gone a couple of times. We've all been gone a couple of times actually. There's Breezy, hey, hey, and Maribel, and Laura. There's Deb. One more whip. She's here too. Yay. That's my California buddy. Catbird is here. Hello to you. Done with another work day. Yeah. You're not the only one feeling that. I know of several people who are feeling that. Laura, how are you tonight? Yep. There's a lot of that going around, let me tell you. You might be hearing outside noises. Mr. Fiber is working on the yard, doing a little bit of yard work after work, and um, doing some weed eating and moving some vehicles around. So you might be hearing a little bit of background noise. Breezy's glad to be done with that day too. Hello, Mary. Hey, Lorna. Okay, here's what I have in store for you guys today. I took some notes because we really have not talked a whole lot about this book, even though we picked it some time ago. So I had not really had a chance to sit down and put any notes down for the book. So I went ahead and did that, and I'm going to just kind of go through it with you, and let's get a good overview. There's really a lot of information that is given out in the first part of this book. So this book is like in 7 or 8 parts, I think, something like that, with several chapters in each of them. And my notes don't go all the way through the first part, but they're going to give you a really good gist in a way of what's going on. There's just a lot in that first part of the book. Did the doctor start to heal? Oh, that's good. Keep it in the boot. Okay. Well, that's good. Glad to hear that. Awesome. Okay. I really have not felt all that great today. I've had some vertigo today, so I've been a little queasy. So tonight I have okay, hold on just a minute. Hold on, guys. Okay, sorry about that. Everything is fine. Everything is good. Yep, I was muted for a minute because I had a phone call I had to take real quick, so but everything is good. So, who did I miss? Suzanne is hooked. Good to see you. Nancy McDonald, hi. Glad to see you. Sharon Creates, good to see you. Who else came in while I was on the phone? Who else? It's all good. No worries, no worries. Everything is fine. Just apparently that my mother is trying to talk to me. We'll just leave it at that. You know. Okay. Well, let's see what my hands are doing. There we go. Here is the shawl. Now, you guys had told me, someone said to me that you thought that this would work for my something corny. Y'all still think that there's enough yellow? And, actually, there is kind of a corn color in here, isn't it? I would say there's a little bit of that in there that maybe you might call a corn color, that, or maybe some of this with the yellow in it. I think you guys might be right that this actually would work for our something corny. We're going to go with it because I don't have another one started. And hey, then there's my fingers, except I'm going to have those changed this week too. Yeah, this kind of looks like Indian corn, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Kind of looks like Indian corn. And all those colors. I know it. Oh, you don't even think about that, because if we looked at that Kansas picture of the Kansas flag, didn't we? So this one is, and I worked on this while I was doing my notes, but this is that Michael's crochet ruffled shawl. Okay. And it uses the cinnamon swirl cakes, but I'm using the cinnamon swirl cake and I'm using the blossom cakes. So, okay, Nancy. Nancy's going to be listening. I'm so glad. Glad you're here. And this is the cinnamon swirl cake I'm using, and it's called Springtime is this one. And this one is passion fruit. Hi, Joan. You're on the phone. Okay. She's on the phone. It's a phone night. Y'all, I can't even tell you about all the stuff that's going on the phone in the background. Okay, now I'm going to start talking about my notes for this book. So, A Serial Killer's Daughter by Carrie Rawson, who is the daughter of Dennis Rader. And Dennis Rader is known as BTK. And BTK stands for Bind, Torture, Kill. Thank you, Mary. I thought they did too. Hi, Kathy. Come on in. Now, I'm at the part where you start doing the ruffle. This is the ruffle part. So see, I've done a row here of back loop only. And so now I'm going to do a few rows straight, and then I will go back and put the ruffle on this part right here. So in February of 2005, Carrie Rawson was a substitute teacher. She was married. She was living in Michigan. And strangely enough, she was very worried about a car that was parked outside across the street from her house that was looking in. she said was looking in her window. She called her husband and she told him about it. And he said, "Well, I'll be home for lunch pretty soon. Don't worry. But if you get really worried, just call the police." And she was just really, really worried. And she remembered her dad saying, um, all kinds of things, to watch for. And when this man came to her door and told her that he was a police officer and such, she didn't believe him because of her dad, because her dad had told her to be careful and all these things that he said. And he told her, if anybody comes to the door and they say they're police or whatever, you got to see their credentials, right? So that's what she did. She asked him for his credentials, and she's about 26 years old at this time. And I don't remember how old Raider was. Hi, Karen, you made it. Yes. And she remembers that this man comes inside and he tells her that her father is BTK. Can you imagine? I mean, she's not living in Wichita, Kansas at this time, but she grew up there and everybody there was talking about this. She certainly knew exactly who he was based on all of his media coverage and everything. That's okay, Karen. I'm going to try to walk through some of this stuff this time through my notes, so hopefully you won't miss too much. And I just cannot imagine being told that your dad is a serial killer. And he begins, and after this that go through this, okay, she asks him immediately. She guys, and Serbs is on the bone, y'all. He's on the bone. She says, "Well, is my mother okay? Is my grandmother okay? Is my brother okay?" She can't wrap her head around what he's saying. Well, has he killed my mother? Did he kill my grandmother? Where's my brother at? Does he know anything about it? You know, she immediately goes to, well, maybe my family is in danger. So it's strange how she went straight to that, you know, from just trying to process what he just said. I just cannot even imagine. And then she starts to talk about her life as she was growing up. And to me, there's really a lot of information in this book related to her family, her extended family. She talks a lot about her grandparents on both sides, so you get an insight into their lives and things. And I mean, is it weird to you guys how normal it all sounded? The way that she grew up? She grew up like a lot of us did. It's just so strange, the two different lives that man led. And she talks a lot about Wichita, Kansas, and some of the things that they were doing. Now, if you don't know what I mean about the cow and this project that I'm working on, our hashtag for this one is the something corny Mal. That's just me being corny about it being corn and, sunflowers and all that kind of stuff in Kansas. So it was my thing that I wanted it to be the something corny and to make it lighthearted for really a deep, dark subject. So the something corny Mal, and you guys, you're going to get everything that you make and you use that and you post pictures or you send me pictures, you will get 2 entries for every entry. And those of you that are here and that you are commenting or that you comment after this has posted, you will get an entry and And all of those are going to count for 2 entries for this round of the book club also. Okay? I just want to reiterate that. I was telling everybody about this on Sunday. So I just wanted to reiterate that. Yeah, it's all very creepy. So creepy. She talks about her dad and her uncle both served in the military, and that it was like such a normal life with her parents. They had after they get married, and they have like a 900 square foot home, and her mom sewed curtains for the house, and they bought appliances. And now this is in the 70s, okay? And she talks about how they bought these appliances, and they were all in the color avocado. That's definitely 70s, right? Avocado appliances. Yeah, Sharon, you probably do. Yeah, you probably do understand that dichotomy. I wondered that too, and I think a lot of the investigators probably say that there was things that he probably has not told them, because he's such a narcissist and he wants the attention so badly that more than likely he has done things that he has not told anybody about. Your Nana's yeah. I think we had at least one growing up. I'm pretty sure either our washer or our dryer. We either had a washer or a dryer that were avocado, maybe the refrigerator. I'm not sure. We had something that was avocado, and then that orange color, that like not like bright orange, but like kind of like a darker, rustier orange color. We had that stuff too. Matter of fact, my mom's the dryer that we had that was that color went to Germany with us and back again to Colorado when she moved it. They moved it like 3 times. Yeah. So that thing lasted a while in that ugly orangey color. Yeah, and gold too, that burnt orange, that gold. Yeah. The harvest gold. That's that was it. Harvest gold. Yeah. I had like green countertops in my house. My very first house had green countertops, but they were like that apple green. And I was doing all the country stuff at that time. And so we used that as part of the color scheme and just turned it into like a watermelon theme. So I didn't have to pay to have to replace all the counters. Okay. So she sewed the curtains, her mom did. Dennis Rader graduated college with an associate's degree in electronics, and he was working in a power plant. And then he started working and was working in a power plant at that time. And then after he got the electronic degree, he started working for Cessna. They were the ones that made the engines for airplanes, Cessna, and he worked in their tool and die department. Okay. And her mom worked for the Veterans Administration, for the VA. I mean, they did a lot of things like normal people, jobs, all the stuff. They went to church. She talked a lot about their time going to church. And, he was the church, oh gosh, forget. That's one of the ways they found him, was his name on the church page for the church on the internet. Uh, Not long after they got married, her her dad got laid off from Cessna, and he began to spiral. And then he began spying on people, stalking people, breaking and entering. And in the fall of 1973, he attempted a kidnapping at the Twin Lakes Mall. And that was the first time I had heard about that. I don't remember anybody talking about that in anything that I watched so far. So that was news to me that there was an attempted kidnapping at Twin Lakes Mall. And he was 29 years old at that time. And the first murders took place January of 1974. It was Joseph and Julie Otero and their two younger children, Josie, who was 11, and Joey, who was 9. And the 3 older children found them. Might have been Treasurer and it might have been Deacon. I'm really not quite sure of his exact position, but he was doing something at the church and his name was listed and they had a picture of him. And I don't remember the name of the church either. I'm pretty sure she talks about it. Yeah. I'm pretty sure she talks about the name of the church, but I don't have it down here. I didn't take notes on that. Now, that was the first murders, and then after the first murders, he went to work. He went to school to get law enforcement classes at the university. After murdering people, law enforcement. And he graduates from these classes. In April of 74, he kills 21-year-old Catherine Bright, who lived near the university. And he fought with her brother who lived. His name was Kevin, and he lived, and he gave a description of him. And there was a description of him put out in the paper and on the news, and that's what sparked this narcissistic relationship he had with the news organization. He loved the Wichita Eagle and never missed a paper. And he was always writing to them and to the police. Yeah, a cover, yeah. Oh, did you find it, Annie? President of Church Council? Thank you. Well, that's true. Nobody's free. There's one everywhere. Yeah. Hey, Christy. Good to see you. Hi, Nisi. Oh, that's okay. Just glad you're here. Glad you made it. Now, he wrote to the Wichita Eagle and claimed responsibility for killing the Oteras, and that's when he started to call himself BTK. And he had a certain way of writing it. If you guys remember, it was like like BT, and then the K was part of the T, I don't know, he had some clever way of writing it. And he wrote and he claimed responsibility. Now he began working for ADT, which was a security system, installing security systems. Well, of course he was. Everybody in the town wanted security because of what he did. The ironies. I mean, he made pretty good money at ADT. He did the law enforcement courses and then gets on with the security company, total cover for all of it. Now, Carrie's brother, Brian, was born in July of 1975, and Rader did not do anything again until 77. And this was, he said he was busy. He said he got busy because of the new baby and all of that stuff. And he killed hold on. I get a drink. He killed Shirley Railford in December of 77. And Rader's wife was pregnant with Carrie at that time when he murdered Shirley Railsford. And he was no. He murdered Shirley Railford in March of 77, and then a few months later in December, while his wife was pregnant, he murdered Nancy Fox, who was 25 years old. And I think Shirley Railford is the one where the children were actually in the house, and they actually saw what was going on, saw their mom through the door frame or the keyhole or something like that. I believe that is the one that's talking about. It was horrible. And then Carrie was born in June of 1977. So she just had a birthday. Or she's got one coming up. And Rader went silent again shortly after that till around her first birthday, and he said he got busy again. So, we were talking about this not long ago about how some serial killers will actually stop and start, that there are pauses in between, and that's a real thing that does happen. Hi, Kathy G. Hey, Z. Whoop, whoop. Z's here, y'all. Good to see you. Is your company still there? Has she gone home already? She's had company. She's having a good time. I'm jealous. Someday, Z. Always say someday. So, Carrie talks about her dad's behavior, and she reflects on how he actually changed his appearance, how she remembers growing up, how he would change his mustache or his beard. He would grow a beard, or he would shave off a beard, or he would change his appearance a lot over the years in some way or another. And she did not realize this until later. And he would be gone for hours. He'd be gone at night, like when he was taking classes and all of those things. He was moody. One time he would bring home a puppy, and then another time he would be strict and overbearing. He was always very orderly, always liked everything in order. Oh, well, you just come hang out with us. It's all right. I imagine you've had lots of company. So, it's not a split personality. The way that she describes her dad, do you guys see it as a split personality? Because I don't see it that way. I see it more of a cover for what, he said he had a good side and a bad side. That his good side always wanted to be a nice person, going to church, doing all the things, and being a family man, having a job, and that they had this like dark side, this what he always called his X factor. Now, he went from 77 to 85. And then in 1985, he murdered Maureen Hedge, and that was in April of 1985. And she lived just down the street from them. And Carrie remembers being so, so scared. She would have nightmares about a bad man. She she just remembered just being so scared. Her mom and her used to walk past this lady's house, and they would wave hello to this lady. So it's not like she didn't know who this was. And then this bad man that was doing things had struck right there in their own neighborhood. I just can't even imagine. I, just, I the ironic. Oh, I know, to have a serial killer in the area. Yeah. And he always told them that he did extra things. He did not, here he had a security system, but he did not install a security system. He put in lights, and he put tape, um, like invisible tape kind of stuff around doors, and he put in like the stickers. He put the stickers on the house so that people would think that they had ADT. Hey, Chels. Chels is here. Yay. Hi, Sally. It is growing fast. It is. I am already on the ruffle part, or about to be. I'm doing the underneath layment of the ruffle for the ruffle. And see, also around the time that Rader murdered Maureen Hedge was when Carrie broke her arm at church. She fell out of a tree and broke her arm. And this was really hard on the family because, she had this, like, she had to go into the hospital, and they had to put her in a cast and all of that kind of stuff. And she put that together with around the time of the murder of Maureen Hedge. She starts to kind of piece things together about a lot of things after she finds out that it's him. I saw that picture, that Black Dahlia, that picture. I wondered. Yep, yep. I haven't talked about that on here yet. I need to do more research on that first. That's cool. That's cool that she got to get a picture in front of it. Now, Carrie talks about stories of her grandparents and her cousins and the good times. And it's interesting to hear her talk about some of the things that, and like she talked about going out to eat at Grandy's, and, just a lot of very normal things that families do, things that I did with my family. I'm sure some of you have done with your family, like going out to eat after church, or going here or going there. And then on the other hand, she talked about she and her mom and her brother having to actually navigate around her father's moody and erratic and paranoid periods. So, like when they went to California on their California trip, the summer of 1986, they went on vacation to California, to SeaWorld and to Disney. And a month later, when they got home, he murdered Vicky Wagerly. And then he got a job working for the census. And this was like I wasn't quite sure when this happened. This was somewhere around like 88, something like that he gets the census job. And he traveled a lot. He got an office downtown, and then his mom got sick with pneumonia, and she was in the hospital for like, her mom got sick, his wife, and she was in the hospital for something like 10 or 12 days, and that was really hard on the family at that time. And she thinks that's possible. It might be around the time because in 1991, in January of 91, he murdered Dolores Davis. And I think Dolores Davis was, I want to say she was the last one that he murdered, and that he was actually on a Cub Scout weekend for his son when he did that. And he left them all there and went and murdered her and took her out on a road and dropped her off, and went back to the scouts. I mean, that's a real double life. A real double life. Yeah, you go as an adult, you go back and you think about things from your childhood, make you realize what was really going on. Yes, it really would in this case. It really would. I mean, yes, they did those hikes together. They did. Now that comes up late. There's a part coming up in the book where they go on a hike, some long hikes, and we'll get into that pretty soon also. But they do that one with her and her brother. So in April of 91, he murders Dolores Davis, and then in April of 91, he becomes a Park City compliance officer. Park City, there in close to them. And he has a uniform that's very similar to an officer, a regular officer. So now he's got the uniform. He already had the attitude. And at this point, she talks about the irony of her father's life, the highs and the lows, the good and the bad, how they collided in him, and her reflection on what that might have been looking back. And the last thing I have is where she says that it's extremely interesting, and one way of looking at it, to where he took 10 lives over 17 years, and then he lived 14 years as if he had not done it. And that's as far as I am with my notes right now on the book. That gets us up to almost the end of the first part of the book. But that much of it right there says a lot, does it not? Says a lot about his personality. But it's only touching the surface of it, really. That's okay. I had one too earlier. Yeah, me too. But yeah, what irony. Now, what do you guys, you can go ahead, if you have read ahead of me from this point, absolutely, you want to tell us any of your observations? Anybody? I was going to go to the doctor today and I did not make it. I had vertigo. So I'm definitely going to go tomorrow because I can't keep doing this. This is way too long with all this sinus crap, the vertigo, the stuffiness, and I'm so over it. Glad you're here, Joan. Glad you're here too, Z. All of you guys. So awesome. Yes, and she did question Boy, did she go through a lot of internal work. I really admire her standing up. She has stood up for herself and for her family for the fact that they did not know all of the crud that was going on. And she is able to tell the story so that people understand what an absolute double life he was living. Right? Special kind of crazy, right? Me too. Me too. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm glad you're back. Glad you're back, Bree. Well, I my schedule's been a little off lately because I went out of town. I went to Colorado, and then I went to New Orleans. And then one week my daughter was here before I did that. First my daughter was here from New Orleans, and then I went to Colorado, and I came back and I was home for a little while, and then I went to New Orleans to see her, and then it's just been hard for us to get together for these book clubs. Really hard, but that's why tonight I was like, we are going to do this. We're going to do it. Yeah. Well, you go through a lot of inner searching, and I cannot even imagine. You know, Carrie also talks about losing her cousin. We're going to get to that here later in the book also, where, and I think it's coming up, she was in college and her cousin died in a car accident, and this was a cousin, this is like a first cousin that she was extremely really close to, right? And going through that process of figuring out how to go forward. And that was even before she knew who her father was. She did not know that at that time. Well, I think he would have had to, okay, maybe compartmentalizes doesn't quite it doesn't quite get there for what he did. He definitely separated the life that he was living from what he was actually doing. He was definitely separating those, you know? Okay, well, that's what y'all mean. Yeah. Thank you. It's turning out really lovely. It really is. I was watching is it Cabin Creek Crochet? I always forget the name of that channel. Anyway, she was talking about, and I don't know if this is one of the colors, this blossom cake, if this was one of the ones that they didn't keep, because the cinnamon swirl and the blossom cakes, I think, are going to be permanent colors. But like she was saying, some of the colors they weren't keeping. I don't know if this was one of them or not, because she was talking about a pink to coral, and that kind of matches this one. So I don't know. I don't know what she meant. I have to investigate because I really like this blossom cake one. I'm not crazy about the cinnamon swirl. I like the way the colors look, but I don't like the feel of it. So I don't know. I probably wouldn't buy it again. And I'm not right now anyway, because the way I have worked on this room and worked on this room and gotten to the point where I can kind of kinda see what I got. I mean, you know? Oh. If anything, I need to cake up some more of my yarn to where it's ready to go. That's gonna be a whole sit down with the machine and the spinner and do it. Do it, do it, do it, right? Get it ready. Get it ready to go. I start at the same time, I need to get out my adding machine and get some stuff going on it. Well, because he kept it there was so much that because I'm also reading Confessions of a Serial Killer, and I'm also listening I'm listening to Bind, Torture, Kill, which is from that I'm getting from the library. So, I'm going back and forth between some of those to kinda get some background on him as I go. So I haven't really, like, deep dived into those books at all. This book I have read this is the 3rd time because I listened to it. It's my 3rd time. But he has this whole fantasy thing going on in his head, like, all the time. And one of the documentaries that I watched talked about how he even took a notebook with him. So, they have all of these boxes, these investigators came out with all of these boxes that they got from his work at ADT, okay, where he had them all in his office. And they said that people in his office did not care for him because he didn't want them to like him. He didn't want them in his office where his stuff was. And how he had this notebook and the last one that he had when he was out working, I wanna say it was that ADT, but it might have been the compliance place. I can't remember where he was last when they where he was working when they took him down. And he would drive around I think it was when he was compliance, and he would drive around the neighborhoods actually looking for victims because he had a picture that he had cut out of something, a magazine or something, and he had pasted it onto a page, and he had actually made drawings, and he had named this person, and he was talking about all the different things he wanted to do to this person in and he was going to try to find someone who matched that picture so he could play out these fantasies that he had, and he just drove around with that notebook. And that was what he talked about something like, this was his person for that day that he was gonna drive around with that day. And it's still going. Just so y'all know, that's still going currently with him where he's at in jail. He's still doing that very thing. And he's still playing around with people and with family and with the media and with all of that in any way he can because his fantasy has never stopped. It's just never stopped. So he was still a compliance officer when he was arrested. It's kind of what I was thinking. Oh, he's still proud of himself. And one of those documentaries that I watched, when he stood up, he was allowed to talk. And when he stood up and he spoke, he pled guilty to all of those charges. And then he stood up to tell, to talk, and he just talked about himself. And all of the victims' families left. They did not stay and listen to him talk. They weren't gonna do it. So he was finally caught because he had agreed to send a floppy disk of something to the paper. I believe it was to the paper or who he thought was to a journalist. And they used that to track him back to the computer that was at the church. It was a floppy disk. It was a floppy that got him. You know those inspectors were talking about that. You know they were. The floppy got him. Come on. It had to be. Okay, what did you win? Karen cakes. Which Karen cake? And then Z said something about going past the Tate and LaBianca house. Yeah. I've listened. There's a podcast that's been done on that. It's really, really interesting. That's the Helter Skelter. Floppies will get you every time. Watch out for the floppy. Oh my goodness. Mhm. Yep. Okay. Well, I think this was a good intro, right? This was a good introduction to the book. It's really, really interesting. This next part, this very next part in the book, this very next chapter, she talks about going to Woodland Park, Colorado, just outside of Colorado Springs. See, that's on the way to Cripple Creek. I know exactly where and Woodland Park is also, if you remember the Kelsey Barrett case out of Woodland Park that took place, that took place there. Mhm. So, Karen cakes, 80 acrylic and 20 wool. Okay. The floppy did him in. I'm telling you. Okay, Nisi, when are you going to when are you coming? Well, he didn't actually have it with the victims, but he did have it on them. Let's put it that way. He was in the room with them. He pleasured himself. Gore kink is a good way of putting it. Gore kink. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, this was a lot of this was before the DNA started. So, they were able to go back and they used, okay, it's just what they were able to get. Okay. They were able to get DNA from Carrie. It was Carrie Rawson's vaginal exam. She had a swab done and went to the lab. And they took the DNA from that and matched it to the DNA that they had from some of the victims. And that's something. Laid eyes on Manson, 69. You were 15. Creepy. Camp counselor was hissing at us. Don't look, don't look. I was going to a Girl Scout camp in, I don't know where NJM is. Wow. Well, that is for sure. There is a lot of that, and that is a lot of what he was after. That and the torture part of it that he got off on, and it was not his particular illness is way, way beyond the BDSM stuff. It is really way beyond that. Okay. Interesting. That's interesting, Christy. Yeah, he was always creepy to me. I would have walked around him even if I didn't know who he was back in the day because he was always creepy looking. Manson was never not creepy looking to me. Probably as a child. Let's put it that way, because they say as a child that Manson was not. He loved the piano. He wanted to be he wanted to play piano and he wanted to do music and he had an ear for music and everybody was, he was one of these um, nice but weirdo as a child even. Okay, love you too. Thank you. Okay, you guys, I am out the door too. Not out the door, but I got to go because you know what time it is. It's that green donut. And he's going to be asking here any second. It is the green donut time. So I will see you guys. Hopefully, I see you on Friday. We're supposed to talk about John Wayne Bobbitt Friday. We will meet again. I'm only going to be doing the book club every 2 weeks, remember, because it's just a lot for me right now. And with everything I got going on with Dad, I've, I've booked his flights. He's going to be here in July. Niecy's coming. I'm supposed to meet up with her. Um, I got a lot going on right now. So we're going to do every 2 weeks on the book club. So we should be able to get through the first 4 or 5 parts of this book, I would think, by next time. Okay, you guys? All right. We'll see you later. Love y'all. Have fun. Have some fun today at some point, and I'll see you later. Bye, everybody. Thank y'all for coming. I appreciate it. Be sure and leave comments after if you're watching this so you can be included in the giveaway for book club. We'll count you here for book club. Bye y'all.